And we're kicking off with WWE, as Seth Rollins suffered an injury on Raw and had to be helped to the back, and while details have been scarce so far, we'll soon learn more thanks to Seth himself. According to WrestleVotes on Twitter, the plan is for Seth Rollins to address his health in future as World Heavyweight Champion on Raw, but what exactly he'll say remains a mystery. Rollins' injury couldn't come at a worse time given that WrestleMania is drawing ever closer, and of course, WWE had big plans for Seth at the Showcase of the Immortals. The Wrestling Observer newsletter reports this week that the plan for WrestleMania is indeed Rollins vs. CM Punk, but of course those plans are in jeopardy now thanks to this injury. Rollins may still make it to the big show, but it's simply impossible to say at this time, and we'll hopefully learn much more on next week's Raw. But what do you think of this, and what should become of the WWE World Heavyweight Championship? Let us know down below. All we know for certain right now is that Triple H will have to deal with this situation, and while Punk vs. Rollins is the current plan right now, those plans may be about to change. Fightful Select reports that Rollins suffered a torn MCL and a minor tear in the meniscus on Raw, and this has only caused more questions about Seth's future. If the MCL tear is mild, he could be back between 1 to 3 weeks, while a severe tear can take over 6 weeks to heal, putting a WrestleMania match in real jeopardy. According to sources within WWE, the hope is that Rollins will be able to muscle on through and compete at WrestleMania, but there are some options WWE is considering. One idea WWE is weighing up is to have Damien Priest finally successfully cash in his Money in the Bank contract after being thwarted countless times in the past. On this week's Raw, he was stopped in his tracks by Drew McIntyre, but Priest could finally have his moment on this week's edition of the Red Brand. The Judgment Day member would interrupt Seth Rollins' announcement and take advantage of his injury to become the new champion, leaving CM Punk to feud with the faction at WrestleMania. But perhaps WWE doesn't want to go with Priest just yet. While another option being weighed up is for a new champion to be crowned next month inside the Elimination Chamber. It's been long since the World Heavyweight Championship was defended inside the Elimination Chamber, and Triple H knows what holding the title inside the brutal structure feels like. The head of talent and creative could book the vacated World Heavyweight title to be defended next month, guaranteeing fans in Perth that they'd see a new world champion crowned. As for who would enter the match, that'd be an interesting call, but we'd expect former challengers like Finn Balor, Shinsuke Nakamura, and Drew McIntyre to help fill out the match. A development on that idea is for CM Punk to win the World Heavyweight Championship inside the chamber, and for the new champ to defend his gold against none other than Seth Rollins. In a twist of fate, Rollins could theoretically be back in time after recovering from his MCL tear to win a #1 contenders match on Raw, earning a shot against his longtime rival. Putting the title on Punk would be bold, but this unplanned situation requires boldness, and this would guarantee Punk would have a world title match at WrestleMania, Rollins or not. We'll just have to wait until this coming Raw to see what direction WWE goes with, and what do you think must be done? Let us know below. Punk vs. Rollins has been teased ever since the Chicago-made wrestler returned to WWE at Survivor Series, but that night also saw the return of Randy Orton. While Punk's return was kept a surprise, Orton's was announced in advance, and during a recent interview, Orton admitted that this decision let the wind out of his return after over a year out. WWE didn't want 2 surprise returns on the same night, and on Instagram, Punk responded to a video of Orton's comments with a simple gif of a bear lovingly hugging another bear. Punk clearly has no ill will towards Randy Orton despite overshadowing him with his return in Chicago, and perhaps we'll see these two cross paths once again in the ring down the line. A very unhappy Roman Reigns kicked off Smackdown this week and demanded for Jimmy Uso and Solo Sikoa to fix what they hadn't so far, with Sikoa vowing he'd fix everything. In Atlanta's State Farm Arena, LA Knight, AJ Styles, and Randy Orton gathered to sign the contract for their Royal Rumble 4-way, but Paul Heyman had some shocking news to give. Heyman told them and Nick Aldis that Reigns would not be signing the contract on the show, which led to the SmackDown GM threatening to vacate the gold. Knight remained immensely popular with fans, with Kevin Patrick saying that the Yeah movement is alive and well, a fun nod to the Yes movement of AEW's Bryan Danielson during his WWE run. Styles' bitterness over Knight jumping him in line for a shot at Reigns continues to define what has been an otherwise loosely written character arc, and the two stars would quickly come to blows. Orton threatened Heyman with an RKO to close out the segment, which fired up the crowd and set up the stage for a match between Styles and Knight for later in the show. Heyman, as always, was fantastic with his facial expressions, while Knight's popularity refuses to wane, a great sign for him, even if his odds of leaving the Rumble as champion are slim. In the Styles vs. Solo match, the pair delivered an intense little match that highlighted the dislike between them, born of the former's frustration with Knight for walking over him to get to Reigns. Unfortunately, it came to an abrupt end with a distraction from Uso that allowed Sikoa to wipe out both Knight and Styles, and with the match called out, the heels demanded Randy Orton next. The bloodline getting back on track when Reigns returns is exactly why he's the tribal chief. It's true to the character, which makes the booking that much more effective. In the main event of SmackDown, Randy Orton faced Solo Sikoa, and when Jimmy Uso attempted to interfere, he was quickly thwarted by AJ Styles and LA Knight. The momentary distraction threatened to derail Orton, but he instead dropped the Enforcer with an RKO for the win, and Orton would next target his Royal Rumble opponents. Sikoa eating the fall after promising to take care of the issues facing the bloodline should only serve to put him in the sights of Reigns as the teased destruction of the faction continues. After attacking Knight and Styles, Orton fell prey to a Superman punch from Reigns, who proceeded to finally sign the contract for the January 27th title defense. Reigns' hubris got the better of him though, as when attempting a spear, Orton caught him with an RKO, and SmackDown went off the air with the Viper standing tall. Orton dropping Reigns as he did is an excellent reminder of how quickly he can hit the RKO and how fast the historic run of the head of the table can come to an end at the Royal Rumble. After SmackDown went off the air, Cody Rhodes made a post-show appearance to defeat Shinsuke Nakamura in a dark match and had some words for his fellow Georgians after the show. In his promo, Cody addressed the rumors about WrestleMania, that it'll either be himself, The Rock, or both who face Roman Reigns this April in Philly, and had the following to say. I'm not immune to all the news, everything that's happening, what will happen, what won't happen. All I can tell you is this, I'm the right man for the job, I'm the best man for the job, I'm heading to the Royal Rumble, I'm gonna go back to back, and I'm gonna bring a championship back home to Atlanta. Rhodes is determined to win his second straight Men's Royal Rumble match and dethrone Roman Reigns at WrestleMania, and up until the Day 1 Raw, that seemed the obvious plan. That was until a Brahma bull-sized roadblock emerged on Cody's path, but Cody won't let anyone, not even a great one, make him anything but undeniable at WrestleMania 40. This week it was confirmed that Kazuchika Okada will be leaving New Japan, ending his 16 years with the promotion, and there's buzz about where's next for the Japanese star. In Sports Illustrated, it's reported that AEW is the favorite to sign Okada, as he's already worked with Tony Khan before and has forged a friendship in the ring with Bryan Danielson. With that said, AEW isn't the only promotion interested in Okada, as Justin Barrasso adds, there's also significant interest from WWE, specifically from Paul Triple H Levesque and Shawn Michaels. Sports Illustrated is confirmed. While it's difficult to procure information from Okada's camp, multiple sources close to NJPW revealed that he has always wanted to perform at a WrestleMania. Levesque is aware of this and has the right opponents, specifically AJ Styles and Finn Balor, who have pre-existing relationships with Okada and would both be perfect for Okada's debut if he were to wrestle at WrestleMania 40. Okada in WWE is an interesting prospect, and WWE reportedly pushed Shinsuke Nakamura in late 2023 to prove to Okada and others that Japanese talents can succeed in the promotion. Out of a show of respect, Okada will still appear at New Japan's New Beginning shows in February, but will be completely gone after that. And where do you want to see him next? Let us know below. For decades, Randy Orton has taken out superstars with his RKO finisher, so it's only fitting that the veteran appeared in Eladio Carrion's music video for his track titled RKO. In the video, Orton hits his signature move on a cameraman and admits to being a huge fan of Eladio and promises to do anything he can to help the singer out. Orton leaves the video with a kick to the unconscious cameraman for good measure, and his appearance in this music video was truly an RKO that came out of nowhere. More from SmackDown, as Carlito had his first match on the Blue brand in 70 days, and after his loss to Bobby Lashley in November, the cool veteran was eager for a win. This week he teamed with Cruz del Toro and Joaquin Wilde to take on Santos Escobar, Angel, and Humberto, but Carlito's obsession with Santos would cost him dearly in the show's opener. The babyfaces mounted a comeback late, fighting back against Escobar & Co. on the strength of Carlito's fiery barrage, but it was Santos who'd score yet another win, leaving Carlito fuming. The cheap win builds heat for the heels. Carlito has unfinished business with Escobar, and the match was a quality tag match to boot in a great start to Smackdown. Bayley was at ringside to watch Alba Fire and Isla Dawn challenge tag champions Katana Chance and Kayden Carter, all while pushing the Kabuki Warriors into a title opportunity. On commentary, Bayley took several shots at Rhea Ripley, even wearing a mommy t-shirt for the show, and even dubbed herself the Mommy Slayer and claimed she'll beat Ripley at WrestleMania 40. Bayley's been pushing for a shot at Ripley for several weeks, and as the only member of the Four Horsewomen who has yet to main event WrestleMania, it's easy to see why she wants the match. The role model was the one who put Damage Control together and doesn't want the rest of the group to be holding titles around her, and is focused on winning next week's Royal Rumble match. Do you think Bayley could win the WWE Royal Rumble and face Rhea Ripley at WrestleMania? Share your thoughts in the comments section below. It's interesting that Bayley is focused on Rhea Ripley, as shouldn't Damage Control want revenge on the Unholy Union for costing them the Miracle on 34th Street fight? Speaking of Fire and Dawn, they were solid enough in their title match, but the crowd struggled to invest in them thanks in large part to their lack of TV time in recent months. Even in this match, the focus was on Bayley and her goals, and this match could have benefited from more time and a little more focus on the challengers entering the contest. The WWE Universe rejoiced on Friday with the return of Pete Dunne's name, putting an end to his days portraying Butch in the Brawling Brutes. The Bruiserweight obliterated Kit Wilson and Elton Prince of Pretty Deadly, punishing them with joint manipulation early and tossing them around later en route to the bitter end and victory. This was as strong a start for Dunne as one could hope for, and established his dominant credentials as someone capable of picking apart opponents and putting them away. There was no silliness, just an unforgiving beating by one of the best wrestlers in the world, as this was a return to form, and a reunion with Tyler Bate was exactly what the gifted worker needed. From the moment of his release, fans speculated on Nick Nemeth joining AEW, but instead, the wanted man of wrestling has gone to TNA and New Japan. Nemeth's brother Ryan already works for AEW, with many speculating on Nick joining him, and during an interview with WrestleBinge, the show-off was asked about a potential AEW move. He replied, "I'm very focused on New Japan and TNA right now because I've seen a few different people on both of those rosters that I'm blown away with. I'm not doing moves, being awesome at wrestling. Some of them have bigger names, and some of them don't have a name that's really well known all over the world yet." Nemeth has already made an impact in both companies, as he brawled with IWGP Global Champion David Finlay at Wrestle Kingdom and laid out TNA World Champion Moose at Hard to Kill 2024. Could Nemeth join AEW one day? It's possible, but for now, the former WWE World Champion is more than happy keeping busy outside of Tony Khan's grasp. Would you like to see Nick Nemeth in AEW, or should the show-off keep clear of the promotion? Let us know in the comments section below. One name who we know is all elite is Brian Keith, who after a series of matches on Dynamite, Collision, and ROH TV has signed a contract with the promotion. The Wrestling Observer newsletter was unable to determine if it's a full-time deal or a per-show arrangement, but expect to see more of the bounty hunter on AEW shows. More from Smackdown as WWE dug into the archives to add heat to this week's US title match between Kevin Owens and Logan Paul, with the Maverick reminding Owens of the stunner Paul received at WrestleMania 37. A verbal back and forth ensued before Paul left Owens writhing in pain after removing the protective brace on his arm and damaging the already injured limb. Owens struck out at Paul, giving him his props for learning before reminding him he was protected and was not like any other WWE superstar. Paul, in a scene akin to Jack Nicholson's Joker in the 1989 Batman movie, blamed Owens and the 2021 attack for making him the ruthless competitor he is today. We know the motivation for both men, which will only help enhance the investment from the fans in the match, and expect a great match from two wildly talented performers. At Full Gear, Will Ospreay officially signed with AEW, but was allowed to finish up his career in New Japan, but fans could expect him in AEW very soon. In the latest Wrestling Observer newsletter, Dave Meltzer writes that Ospreay will be a regular on TV for AEW starting in February and is scheduled for the Revolution show in Greensboro on March 3rd. Revolution will be a huge show and will feature the final match of the iconic career of Sting. And what will Ospreay do at his first event as an official AEW wrestler? Time will tell. And we're ending with Chris Jericho, who is facing serious allegations of misconduct that led to several fans turning on him, but despite this, AEW is soldiering on with Jericho, who recently filed a unique trademark. Jericho has now filed for the term seek and destroy with the United States Patent Office for the standard use at wrestling events that is customary with a wrestling-themed trademark. AEW has done plenty to keep Jericho on TV, even playing music to drown out boos from the audience, and now Jericho has this trademark to use as he wishes.